Good afternoon, Hopkinton, and welcome to September 15th, which means tomorrow is back to school day. It's been a long time coming, and it's been a lot of decisions and challenges, and I'm really grateful that HCAM has been able to be a part of connecting you with information as everything has been changing. And today is our final day before school starts with Dr. Kavanaugh taking questions and giving information. However, I am happy to say it is not the end of Dr. Kavanaugh on HCAM. We will be continuing to have her on and talking about all the things that are going on in our school system. So with that being said, Carol, welcome to the Hangout Hour.
Thank you, Jim. It's an exciting day, but tomorrow will be a more exciting day. I can't wait to have kids back.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're all so excited. Even, they were just like, oh, it's been since, I think, March, right?
March 10th was the day we closed our schools. Yeah.
March 10th. So yes, I was in there today getting my room ready, and there's a lot of buzzing going on and a lot of activity and a lot of excitement. So it's good to see that. Now, before we start chatting, as usual, I'd like to give you the opportunity to give us an update over the past week of final preparations and what's been happening.
Well, so today I was over at Elmwood in Hopkins and I checked out the new modular classrooms. At Hopkins, they are looking just maybe a day or two ahead in terms of schedule than where Elmwood is. But all of the cabinetry is in, and the rugs are in, and the flooring is in, and I think now we're just in a place where it's time to vacuum and get some desks in there. So I think
I am
the
dead.
schools are looking great. Um, we have all of our, PPE ready. We have, as of this broadcast, I think we had 3 of the 5 tents up on our campuses. If people would like to see them, you can go see the one at Elmwood School. It looks fantastic. So that's kind of exciting. Our teachers have been back for, this is the 10th day now. So I'm sure that they are eager for kids to come back into the building as well. I mean, I think 10 days, felt like an awfully long time to be in school without kids. It's kind of an unnatural thing. So the kids, I'm sure, will be exciting. And I have done a broadcast on how to get your kids into school and out of school. So we're hoping that the traffic patterns are going to work for us. And other than that, we've probably spent close to $1 million on plexiglass and technology. So we're ready.
$1 million on plexiglass and technology. That is amazing.
Isn't it?
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean, I should say PPE, but
Right, right. Because plexiglass and technology and face shields and masks and we all have paper towels and spray in our classrooms now.
Hand sanitizer everywhere.
Right. I think it's going to be really interesting. I just am really interested, not morbidly so, but there have been so many hotspots that are popping up around the country, and it's going to be really interesting because Massachusetts, I don't know what the last number was, but the last number for the 7-day rolling average I saw was 0.8. Now, I have a loved one in Kansas, and it is 15.7 there. So we're at 0.8. Hopkinton is shaded white. There's so much fogging that's going to be going on every day. It's going to be really, really interesting to see, how this next month goes.
Yes, I really do. In this segment, I should say thank you to Mr. Person and all of the maintenance personnel and building and grounds. They have been working really around the clock to make all of this happen. If people at home knew how many desks had moved and how many pieces of plexiglass, kidding aside, have been installed, and tents and all of that, the work that they have done this summer. If you had asked me in June if that crew was physically and in terms of time capable of getting all of this done, I would say they would have had to make superhuman efforts. So they have, and I'm grateful for that.
Right. Now I'm curious, were new desks purchased? Because I've never seen so many desks before. All over the cafeteria, all over the athletic center, in the Brown gym at the middle school. wouldn't have thought that the school system had that many, although all the classrooms have been vastly decreased in desks.
Right.
So maybe it was just moving them around.
Yes, so when you see so many of them in great big gym spaces or cafeteria spaces, you will also, if you go into classrooms, it's almost odd to look at a classroom because we're used to so much furniture and kind of warmth and then when you get in there, I mean the warmth is still there. The teachers have, at Elmwood School, sometimes you go in there and you think, oh, this is an old school, but when you walk inside and you look at the bulletin boards and what people have done, I mean, it brings the place to life. So it's very lively, but there are only a few desks in every room. So you have that kind of very open, almost cavernous kind of, echoey hello feeling in there.
Yes, exactly.
Mm.
Oh, it's nice. I walk down the halls and I see artwork on the walls, and I just am looking forward to, I mean, a school is a building, but the building is the smallest part of the school. It's the people inside who are moving around. The kids are so excited. They're just excited to be learning and growing. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, friends that I have who are in other districts that have already gone back keep telling me when their children come home from school, they're thrilled. I don't think kids have ever appreciated school more.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't
Yeah.
that amazing? I mean, same thing with HCAM when we had to go virtual.
Mhm.
It really made us concentrate on the C in HCAM in a whole new different way, which stands for community. And you know what? As I was just telling Mr. Scott this today, as terrible as this time has been, there are things that we have learned and we have grown and will make us appreciate just things in life that we have been taking for granted.
Mm.
All right. Well, anyways, we could wax poetic for this whole hour, but I really think that the back to school driving patterns are very important, very important. And I think that what you said on your video was really good. So I I I think it would be a great service for us to play that video now, so that if people haven't seen it, they can soak up that knowledge, as we say. All right, you okay with that?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. And I would love to also show families the high school video that shows kids getting into the bus because I think the boarding the bus video is a very, very important one for tomorrow to be successful.
All right. Well, guess what? You're the doctor here, so you get to pick which one goes first.
Uh, well, let's do the high school getting in the bus. Are you fine with that? I mean, it's
Absolutely.
kid generated, so it's far more wonderful.
Okay,
I think.
absolutely. All right, so that's 3 minutes long, and I will see you on the other side.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jim.
Hi, I'm Danny.
I'm Kaden.
And I'm Ronnie.
And today we're going to be showing you what a typical school day will look like.
The first segment is how to enter and exit the bus.
The school day starts with us actually getting to school. And if you're taking the bus, there are some guidelines that you have to follow. As you've been hearing throughout the whole pandemic, maintain social distance. The first person in the bus should go all the way to the back and sit closest to the window. The next person should sit in the seat forward and across and also sit closest to the window. This allows to keep the distance between you and the people around you. When you get in your seat, make sure that all the windows around you are open to maintain airflow. Keep filling the bus all the way to the front in this manner until all the seats are filled up. Now, enjoy your ride to school. Once the bus arrives at school, we have to get off maintaining social distancing. The person closest to the door will exit first. After that, the next person closest to the door will exit after that. Stay seated until the person in front of you has gotten up and is 6 feet away from you on their way to the door. Now that you've arrived, as you're walking into the school, practicing social distancing, let's see what our classrooms will look like.
And remember, on your way in from the bus or to class, or when you're heading to lunch or leaving lunch, or for any seniors when you come back in for senior privileges, make sure you hand sanitize. Or wash your hands in the bathroom.
Different than previous years, we are not allowed to congregate in areas we normally would. Instead, we will be going right to our first period class. The class sizes are smaller and the seats are practicing social distancing. Find your seat and soak up the knowledge. After class ends, on your way out the door, please remember to stay 6 feet apart as you're entering the hallway.
There will be staggered dismissal after classes and lunch. As you make your way throughout the hallway, make sure that you stay 6 feet apart from everyone as best you can. It is also important that you stay in a single file line on the right-hand side of the hallway. Try not to stop or congregate in any one area and just make your way to your next class. It's lunchtime, and there are those who buy and those who bring. Those who bring will stay in the athletic center, and those who buy will stay in the cafeteria. All are encouraged to use their privileges if they have them. As you enter the cafeteria or athletic center, as always, make sure to maintain social distancing. As you approach your desk, you will notice a barcode in the upper left-hand corner. It is imperative that you scan these barcodes with your phone camera. These barcodes will be used for contact tracing if need be. After you are settled in your seat, then you are allowed to take your mask off and eat your lunch. You can also socialize with people around you from a distance.
Lastly, there is a new part of our day. It's called mask breaks. When it's your time, make your way out of the school, maintaining social distance, to a designated area, and enjoy a few moments mask-free. When this break is over, please put your mask on as you're returning to the building.
I know this year will be a lot different from previous years, but we can adapt and we can get through it together.
Wear your mask. Stay physically distant.
And have a great year.
All right. So I had a great time working on that. And one quick story from that, you can see that's about 3 minutes and 9 seconds long. After we spent the morning shooting all the shots, I went back for another session where the kids were narrating. So I arrive and I'm like, okay, so do you have your scripts? And they go, oh, we're just going to wing it. I said, oh, really? Oh, okay, we'll just wing it. I had 45 minutes of tape to edit down to that 3 minutes. just a plug for scripting whenever we can do it.
I thought you were going to tell me that the superintendent wings it every week. So
No, I'm not going to say that.
okay.
All right. So I thought it was great getting a glimpse inside the building, seeing what's going to be different. So now it gives the students an expectation of what it will look like and then how it will work. I mean, you know, walking on the right side of the hallways isn't going to be new, but the tape down the middle probably will be. And having lunch is going to be vastly different.
Yes. And, you know, and maybe I've said this before, Jim, I can't remember, but this summer, the reentry advisory group, when we finished with, you know, all of the work, or at least when we got close to the end of the process, one of the things that we thought we might try was going into the high school, sitting in desks, having a lesson delivered, going outside for a mask break, coming back in, having a second lesson delivered. And we tried a secondary lesson as well as an elementary lesson. But I think the big takeaway for me from the entire day was that we had a kid with us who said, you know, I thought this was really going to be kind of awful being so distant from my friends, but now that I'm sitting in this room, it doesn't feel like you're all that far away from your friends. You know, which I thought was a really lovely thing to sort of say. I mean, she got very comfortable, I thought, in that room, and she was in there with a group of adults. I mean, there was only one other high school aged person in there.
Right. And I don't know what all the schools have been doing, but just as one example, the high school, their high school students who have been working with the HPTA, and they're doing this raffle thing, and they're each making their own little videos that are going out, you know, to the teachers, and it's really adorable. It's just really nice, you know, looking forward to seeing you and all that kind of stuff. I really think that we are going to so appreciate being back in the building with each other. And all right. Okay. So anything else before we transition into this 14-minute one? Do you want to preface it anyway, or?
No, if I can just say one more thing about the last video, and I don't want to be a broken record about it, but if parents can coach up their kids about when you get into the bus, please go all the way to the back and take the back seat and then fill them in moving forward. And I know that's going to be tricky for kids because if you've been sort of a school bus rider for a really long time, you've got that little space in the bus that you always sit in, or you've got those two friends that you always sit with. And it's just going to be sort of a very different bus ride to school. So I would hope parents will be able to work with their kids. And just a quick reminder that when you get to the door of the bus, you've got to be wearing that mask. Yeah.
Right. And I would say when we were preparing that video, the kids really understood one on the left, one on the right, one on the left, one on the right. The real thing they had to, get was it's one opposite side, one row forward. So we're not filling every single row. We're filling every row other side alternating, as we end up saying, like a zipper.
Mhm.
So I think that's a really important thing to you have to pay attention to where the person in front of you is, so that you're not going in the same row. You're going one row forward.
Yes, and just to clarify, the state has said that we can fill every seat, but it would be best not to fill them all if, it's a 77 seat bus with only 26 riders. If you had all 26, we'd have to have one student per seat. But if we only had 13, that model that you're talking about is absolutely ideal. So, it'll be a little bit tricky, I think, in the beginning, but once kids get the hang of it, it's a nice, safe ride to school with the windows open.
So that's another thing, because you had said earlier that the recommendation was you have to be at least 3 feet away, but HBS is going 6 feet away, and now they're saying that you could do every row on the ends, but we're doing every other row on the ends. So that's worth mentioning too.
It is, yes. And in fact, every week I say to people, this is the truth right now. So what we're actually asking kids to do is to push as far in toward the window as they can.
Yeah. And I was wondering, they talked about, we saw the windows coming down.
Yeah.
They talked about opening all the windows for fresh airflow, because I don't have any science behind this, but everything I have heard is, of course, if you can be outside, the virus dissipates much faster than if you're in a closed-in environment. So I don't know if there's going to be, when it gets cold, if there'll be some guidance to maybe like lower them halfway, so you at least still are getting some fresh air in there. It might be kind of early days for that.
Right. Or we'll be turning the heat in the bus up to rolling sauna status.
Right, exactly. All right. So let's roll this video,
Okay.
and then we can chat about that. And if anybody has any questions as this video is rolling, they can feel free to contact us with those.
Great.
Hello, Hopkinton High School and middle school parents. I'm Carol Cavanaugh, Superintendent of the Hopkinton Public Schools, and in a couple of days, school is going to start, and I want to be sure that we are aware of all of the procedures for traffic and for driving around arrival and dismissal at the high school and the middle school. At arrival, I want to make sure that you are aware that for efficient drop-off, everyone must do their part. There are ways that we're going to be driving into the high school and out of the high school, as well as the middle school. Let's remember that even though we're operating on campus in a hybrid model, meaning only 50% of the students are coming to school each day, we will have increased numbers of people who are dropping their children off simply because our 77-seat buses are only holding 26 students this year. So we are grateful to parents for being agreeable to drive their children to school. We just want to make sure that that's going to happen effectively and efficiently. First of all, and this is very, very important, please do not arrive to drop your child off at 7 a.m. Our doors will not be opening. Our doors are going to open this year at 7:15. I know this is a huge change in what you're used to, but we're opening the doors at 7:15 because we have nowhere really in the high school or the middle school to house a great number of kids and keep them socially distanced at 6 feet. So we can open our doors at 7:15 and begin school on time. Again, please do not bring your children to school prior to 7:15. Remember, doors open at 7:15. When your children exit their vehicles, they must be wearing a mask. We did send out information about masks today. We are not allowing bandanas, we are not allowing gaiters, and we are asking that if your child is wearing a cloth mask, that it is multi-layer, and if your child is wearing a disposable mask, that it's technically a 3-ply or better mask. So what's the plan? You have seen me do this presentation before. If you are a person who typically drops off, you kind of know the drill. There are really 2 ways to drop off at the high school. Either way, you enter in through the main driveway. The question is, where are you going when you leave the high school? Parent drop-off plan number 1, that's what you will use if when you exit the high school, you will be heading toward Milford. Parent drop-off plan number 2, that's what you will use if when you exit the high school, you're heading back downtown toward the CVS. So for parent drop-off plan number 1, when you come into the driveway, what you want to do is you want to get into what used to be called the bus loop. So as you enter the driveway, you'll come in, bear right, loop around, and when you come back out again, this is going to allow you to take that right-hand turn toward Milford. You can see that when you get to the end of the driveway, there is no opportunity for a left-hand turn coming out of the Hopkinton High School main driveway. No left turn. We will not be allowing a left-hand turn. So if you come to the end of that road, your only option is to take a right and go toward Milford. That's why this is the plan for people who are heading toward Milford, not for people who are heading back downtown toward CVS. If you are going back downtown toward CVS, you're going to enter into the main driveway and you're going to go into that area that was our typical drop-off area. This is the old parent drop-off area. It has existed since the dawn of time. That's where you're going to go to drop your children off if you're headed back downtown towards CVS after you drop your children off. So very simply, what you'll do, you'll come into the driveway, you'll come up here to the door, you'll let your children out of the car, loop back around, you'll head out toward the Hopkins Loop Road, and when you get to that exit right there, this is what you will see. You will get into the left-hand turn lane and you'll be able to head back down toward the CVS. This should allow most of the cars to get off of Hayden Rose Street. That's the goal, is to try to get cars off Hayden Rose so that we can keep traffic lanes on Hayden Rose Street open and that the traffic is pushed off of Hayden Row into our parking lots and people have a good sense of where you can be while you're in the parking lot based on where you're going to go when you leave the parking lot. So, Hopkinton High School parents, if you're traveling north on Hayden Rose Street from the Milford end, now we've talked about what would be happening if you were coming from downtown, you have only one drop-off option. This is sort of the third drop-off option. In the last two, people were coming from this side. In this one, people are coming from the Milford end. So coming from the Milford end, what you're going to do is you're not going to go into that main driveway, but rather you're going to take a left-hand turn into the loop road and come in here to drop your student off. So you'll pass the HCA, you'll turn into the Hopkinton High School parking lot, you will loop around the drop-off area as indicated right here, you'll come right back out and you will be on the loop road and you can exit back out onto Hayden Road the same way you came in. And in that situation, you can turn either left or right. Please make sure that your kids have their bags in places that are easily accessible. You know, if we can, have bags ready and kids are just ready to jump out of the car, they've got their masks, they've got their backpacks, anything they're going to need for the day, that will certainly expedite the process. And please follow the instructions of the Hopkinton High School and Middle School administrators, the crossing guards, and the Hopkinton Police Department. All of those people will be out there on opening day to help you with this process. Middle school parents, Please note that if you are dropping off at the middle school, kids, once again, will not be admitted into the building until 7:15. This is a huge change. We are asking that you don't pull up into the middle school parking lot and wait for it to be 7:15. If you start queuing up at 7 o'clock, in 15 minutes time, we are going to run out of queuing space in the middle school parking lot, and we're going to have people who are lined up in traffic all the way down to CVS or all the way down Pleasant Street, and no one will be able to get through that bottleneck. So please wait till 7:15 to come and drop off your student. When you come into the middle school parking lot, just like you've always done, you're going to come in by the water tower, and then you're going to exit, and you can go either way as you leave the middle school. You can see on this slide that you'll queue up just as you always have, and you'll stop your car close to this door over by the brown gym, where your students will be getting out of the car. And again, make sure that they have everything ready, whatever it is that they need for the day, backpacks, books, any of those things, just ready to get out of the car in kind of a hurry. Now at dismissal, this is where I think parents really need to pay attention, because things have changed at dismissal. At the high school, we're going to have parents who are going to line up again over by the front door, where they always have. But please, we're asking you also to use the bus loop. Please use that area that we used to call the bus loop. Please put your cars in there, because it allows for extra queuing room. Parents who are coming to pick up their students at the high school, we have a regular dismissal time of, the typical 1:57. So that's the time that our kids are going to be getting out of the high school. 1:52, I'm sorry. But if we are looking at the middle school, that is an enormous change. 6th grade students are going to be dismissed early from the middle school. They will be dismissed at 1:30 p.m. So if you are a 6th grade parent, you should be among the first to be queuing up. When you enter into the middle school parking lot, you'll be queuing in this area right over here. Please, if you are a 7th or an 8th grade parent, don't get into that queue, because when it's your turn to pull up to the door, your child won't be there, and we'll actually have to ask you to keep going and loop back around again. So we really can't have 7th and 8th grade parents there any earlier than your actual pickup time. So grade 6, you have a very small window, 1:30 to 1:39. I know it's very difficult to plan your day accordingly to get in there within that 9-minute window, but please, that's what we need parents to do. Grade 7, your pickup time is from 1:40 to 1:48. So 7th grade parents should plan on arriving at 1:40, get into the queue, and your 7th grader will be able to come on out of the middle school and get into your vehicle quickly and efficiently. And then finally, the 8th grade will be dismissed at 1:48. And that was just in time, I think, for those of you who may have kids at multiple schools. So let's talk about that for a moment. What if I have a student who students who are in multiple grades at the middle school? So what would happen if I had a 6th grader and an 8th grader, for example? If you have a 6th grader and an 8th grader, the way that this is going to work is that all of your children will be dismissed at the time of your youngest child in the middle school. So if you have a 6th grader who's getting out of school at 1:30, your 8th grader, who would normally be getting out at 1:48, if that was the only child you have in school, will leave the building along with your 6th grader. So when you come to pick up your 6th grader at 1:30, your 6th grader and your 8th grader will be dismissed. If you have a 7th grader and an 8th grader, your 7th grader would be dismissed at 1:40, and your 8th grader would be as well. We are going by the dismissal time of the youngest child in the family. Now you have the question of what happens if I have students in both buildings, in the high school and the middle school. You'll pick up your middle school student. So imagine you have a 6th grade student that you're picking up at 1:30, or imagine you have a 7th grade student that you are picking up at 1:40. You've got a good 20 or 10 or 20 minutes between the pickups at the middle school and the high school. So you are going to need to wait for your high schooler to be released from school at 1:52. So when that happens, or in that meantime, you're going to have to put your car somewhere. We are going to open up the spaces in front of the middle school. Right now, visitors will park there or administrators will park there. We're going to open those spaces up so that once you pick up your middle school child, you can pull into one of those spaces and wait for the high school dismissal. Or you can pull around, and if there is room in the former bus loop, you can queue up there. Once that bus loop is full, please do not put your car into the roadway where it's going to cause a bottleneck. Instead, park in that parking lot in front of the middle school. I know this is very complicated, but it's only going to work if people are following the timelines and putting their vehicles in the appropriate places. Because if you do that, then we can still have movement and we have some kind of an efficient dismissal procedure. In the event that this doesn't work, we hope it will, we think it will, we will have an opportunity to revise, and maybe I'll be before you asking you to do something differently. But for now, if you are picking up a middle school student and then a high school student, pick up your middle school student, proceed to the parking lot right in front of the middle school, and wait for it to be 1:52 until your high school student will be coming out of the high school. Certainly you can queue up, or your high school student can walk to meet you right in that parking lot. All right, once again, I will say that in order to make this work, we need everyone's help. We need you to please try to follow along with the protocols that you see before you, how to get into the high school in the morning and how to get out of the high school in the morning, what time to pick up your middle school student, where to put your car if you have students in both buildings. These are very, very important parameters. And again, if you are a 7th or 8th grade parent who arrives at the middle school before the dismissal is entirely finished for the 6th grade, we are going to ask you to move along simply because we have to make sure that all of our 6th grade students are out before the 7th grade parents start to queue up. So please, we hope that you will be able to kind of follow along with these procedures, and we are hoping that everything goes smoothly. I wish everyone a wonderful start to the school year, whether you are elected remote, a green hybrid student, orange hybrid student, or a student who attends every single day. I think that despite all of the things that are going on in the Hopkinton Public Schools and all of the limitations we're facing, I am hopeful that this can be a wonderful, productive school year. So thank you.
Okay. So you know what I was thinking as I was watching it that time? It's very complicated, and there are a lot of different things. There are a lot of different things that are going on there. But what struck me was that as long as you know what you're doing, like whether you're coming from the Milford side or whether you're coming from the downtown side. So that's all you have to pay attention to. You're one of those people that maybe has a student in both schools. So you just have to kind of pay attention to what you're doing. You don't have to know all the dismissal times from the middle school. You just need to pay attention to your dismissal time from the middle school. So.
Right, there's an awful lot of information there. You just have to kind of cull through it and say which one applies to me.
Right, exactly.
And I think I mentioned we all need to do our part, Jim.
I know, that is the fact, right? That is a fact.
And tomorrow morning we'll be out there, and as always, we'll have some SROs with us out there. Some of the Hopkinton police officers will be out there, administrators, crossing guards. So hopefully we've got everybody out there, and we all know the drill in the morning. And I'm hoping it'll go smoothly. I know parents have asked, is traffic going to be a problem? We have 50% of the kids coming in, and we have maybe double the number of drivers. So our guess at this point is that it'll be similar to what we're accustomed to.
Okay, we did get a question during that video asking, what if you have kids at more than just the 6th grade? Now, I know that video kind of addressed if you have students at the high school and at the middle school, and talked about the different times, but I don't know about the other schools. What if you have a child at Hopkins School and at the middle school, or at Marathon School and at the middle school? How would that work?
So those dismissal times really for Hopkins and for Marathon Elmwood haven't changed. So if you had kids in all 3 grades in the middle school, your pickup time would be the 6th grade pickup time, because you pick up at the time of your youngest child. So when you get your sixth grader, your seventh and eighth grader should come out at the exact same time as your sixth grader. And then you may have to wait a little bit and do your Hopkins run or your Elmwood run. But yeah, and I think, people will say, what if I have a student in both Elmwood and Marathon? That frequently does happen, but we've got to remember too that those buses crisscross each other. So, there are some people who will get to Elmwood first and then go over to Marathon, get to Marathon first, and then go over to Elmwood.
Okay. And actually, that's happened more than this year. So
Right.
if you had kids, that's the way that it works.
Yes.
So high school, middle school getting out earlier, but the other schools are the regular time.
Middle school is getting out earlier. High school is still its regular dismissal time.
Really? How come I don't know that? I thought it was like 1:57. What, it wasn't? It's either 1:52?
Well, that's what I was thinking too, but I actually think that the actual time that the bell rings might be 1:50, but by the time the kids exit the building, it's pretty much 1:52 once they start trickling out and getting into their parents' cars.
Okay. All right. Here's another question that came in, which actually I'm really happy to get. You know what? We got over the past several weeks, we've gotten a lot of questions about the high school and the middle school. There's been a lot of focus on that, but here's an elementary school one. Will elementary school have the same seating plan as the high school? Will someone be there to help direct them? So seating plan, I'm assuming they watched the video and saw how the seats were set up 6 feet apart. So this person is asking if the elementary school classrooms are going to look like that, and if there'll be somebody to help direct them in this new world.
Sure. At the elementary level, our kids will still be seated, 6 feet apart in desks for the most part. I would love for Mrs. Bolello to post a picture of her cafeteria somewhere, maybe on her website, because I think that would be an interesting visual for parents. I was in her cafeteria today, and they actually have on every desk in the cafeteria a green sheet of paper and an orange sheet of paper, and it gives the student's name for first lunch, second lunch, third lunch, fourth lunch on the green day, and then it does the same thing on the orange day. So a student who walks into that cafeteria simply reads his name and knows exactly where he or she sits every single day that they are in that cafeteria for lunch.
Okay.
Pretty amazing. The organization, see, and I maybe parents, I don't know if they can appreciate, before we would say, okay, so kids are going to come to the cafeteria to eat lunch, and we would just make sure that we had, custodians there, and someone was going to wipe the tables, and kids had little cards and they could put their PIN numbers in and all of those things. But can you imagine taking somewhere around 450 names and figuring out where they would all sit, and then printing those names 4 at a time on a green sheet of paper, laminating that and attaching it to the desk, and then doing the same for the orange sheet of paper? I am sure that was probably 2 days' work.
Yes.
For one person in our district. And that's just a very small example of the amazing efforts that have happened here all summer.
Yeah, exactly. So all the schools look like what we have seen at the high school. All the desks are socially distancing.
They are, yes.
And are all the corridors going the same way? Stay against the wall, stay to the right side, that kind of thing?
So we do have, kids walking single file lines, staying to the right. We had originally thought about making hallways one way, but that got very complicated in some of our buildings, and we realized that was untenable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. This question just came in. This is interesting because we didn't actually talk about this. Where do sixth graders go to get the bus when they are dismissed at 1:30?
I know that Mr. Keller has told me this. I think it's the Brown Gym, but I would defer to Mr. Keller on that. I'm sure that he's going to have the right answer for kids, and I am not. So that would be a building-based question.
Okay. So A Keller at hopkinton.k12.ma.us.
Correct.
Okay. Now that's interesting. I don't know and I don't know if you know this, but I don't know this. I remember in the past, when the bus loop at the high school was the bus loop, middle schoolers would leave and pick up the buses there, but the buses aren't there anymore. The buses are now behind the building.
Yes.
So So last year, were middle school students going behind the high school and getting their buses there?
They were, yes, yes. So anyone who is a bus rider will technically be, sort of the last people dismissed from the middle school. So dismissal for sixth grade will start at 1:30, but the people who are riding buses and getting into the bus behind the high school will be dismissed at, sort of 1:50.
Okay. Oh, and now I get it. So this person wanted to just ask another question. Do the sixth grades go directly to the bus and wait for seventh graders to be dismissed? So now I get what she's saying, because the high school is being dismissed 20 minutes later than the middle school. So tell us what.
No, all bus riders will leave the buildings at the exact same time at 1:50.
Okay. So that's why you're thinking maybe the Brown Gym, maybe somewhere else, but there's a place in the school that bus riders will go. And from there, they will say, now is your time to go to your bus.
Again, I would defer to Mr. Keller, but what I believe is happening is that anyone who rides a bus just stays in their last period class. So they'll dismiss sixth graders to a location where they will wait just a moment, and then parents will come and pick up all the sixth graders. Then we'll dismiss the seventh graders. They'll go to the same location, and parents will come and pick up the seventh graders. It used to be that you could take all of the parent pickups and just put them in one space, and they could, be there shoulder to shoulder. But now with social distancing, we have to stagger the dismissal at the middle school.
Right. So just kind of as an aside, last year when the middle school was dismissed and they would go to the buses behind the high school, was it just you get out of class, go to your locker, get your stuff, and then you just go and you find your bus?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct. Yes, and I think now that people are not using lockers because that would not allow for social distancing, I'm guessing that kids will sort of streamline the amount of stuff that they are carrying around with them all day.
Now, hasn't that been an issue for the past few years? People talking about how heavy backpacks had been becoming, and talking about, oh, we need to have virtual books so that we don't have to carry all these books around. And there were stories about kids who were carrying their entire day's worth of books because they didn't have time to stop at their lockers in between classrooms. The fact that lockers have been eliminated, how did the thought process go on that, and how that might affect what students are carrying around on their back?
So we are actually hoping that kids will have fewer books just because of all the work that we have sort of turned to, online. But I also wonder if it wouldn't be okay for, students to, leave books in a particular place and, retrieve them as necessary. But I do think we have gone in a direction that has got us much more closer, I think, to being paperless. So, yeah.
Wow. That's one
But
of
I'm
those
sure
changes.
kids will be lugging things around. There's no question.
Right. And that's really interesting because there's always a philosophy where I like to have a physical book, but when it's a textbook that really you don't own, you kind of have it for the year and you don't write in it because the next person's going to use it too. It seems that's much easier to convert into an electronic version that you don't have to cart around.
Right.
Now, I don't know if you've been hearing any horror stories, but my daughter has been avidly following the travails of the NYU food chain that's going on. And they're getting really problematic because there's a lot of students at NYU, and some of the food, they get a lemon as a side dish and all these crazy things. So can you talk about anything that you have been involved with and know about what's happening with lunch service this year?
Sure. In fact, we've had a couple of lunch service meetings recently. I know that parents were confused. And so if there is a student who would like to pre-order a lunch for your at-home day, you can certainly do that. If you are a student who would like to pre-order a lunch because you are a elected remote student, you can certainly do that. But one of the interesting things is that, and I don't know if this has been said publicly anywhere before, but I'm kind of out on a limb here, and I hope the food service department isn't going to be really angry with me afterward. But the federal government has offered to school districts the ability to give everyone free lunch. And that eliminates the problem of having kids have to, take their finger and touch a keypad, and then somebody would have to wipe it off, and someone else would have to touch the keypad. So we do want kids to know their numbers, and we want them to know their numbers because if I, Carol Cavanaugh, have a food allergy, and I say to the person who's working there, my number is 4721, the person who's working there could say, I just want to make sure that that matches, that you don't have any, you have a nut-free, lunch in front of you or whatever. So that is in place. We have no idea how long the free lunch program will last, and it's free lunch for every student. But I guess it's until federal money runs out.
I think that I had not heard of that. And quite honestly, I think that's amazing. I really hope that that is something that once it gets started, it just becomes a part. Just, because you hear so many heartbreaking stories of food insecurity and of not here in Hopkinton, but like lunch shaming and stuff like that. This is America and it's lunch. So I think that is great. Did you have to proactively go on and sign up for that, or did that just automatically happen somehow?
Well, not unlike, all of the superintendents who meet with the commissioner once a week, and all of the special education directors who meet with the special education director for the state of Massachusetts. The food service directors also have those meetings with DESE. And, I know people have been saying, when are we going to get information about food service? When are we going to get information about fill in the blank, right? I mean, that's how the whole summer has worked. And it's been very, very challenging for the people who work inside the district. But it was only a few days ago that Michelle Babin, who is our food service director, learned that we were in fact going to be able to serve lunches to all students for free. So I know people have been a little bit hesitant in what's happening with food service, but now we finally know. So, we all have a tendency to say, oh, I wish the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education could have come through for us faster. But, sort of the truth of the matter, I think, is that they probably have had just as many obstacles as we have had. You call and try to get hand sanitizer, and kind of good luck. You know what I mean? It's been a long time coming for all of the materials that we have tried to purchase to get here.
Right.
Now, as people may be noticing, we've got 3 out of 5 tents up today, and school starts tomorrow. So my guess is they'll all be up by the close of business today, but that is how things have been working. Everything has a deadline, and it's a deadline that when you meet it, you think, whew, that was close.
Right. Now, I do know that previously there had been, at least at some places, breakfast available. And is there no breakfast this year?
I do not think there's breakfast, but I don't want to go on record saying that I believe that there is not.
Okay. And all right. Question just popped in. I'll take their question first from Chris. Can you confirm school bucks account for lunches will not be charged until we are notified as such?
I believe that that is the case. I don't think that we are taking any money unless kids are actually paying for lunch, and kids are not paying for lunch. So I can't imagine that we would be charging you when we know that we're not charging anyone for lunch.
Okay. So I was going to ask, if you are a remote student and you want to access lunch, or if you wanted to access lunch on the day that you're at home, how would that physically work?
As students are walking out of the building, there will be a great big pile of take-home lunches, and they will just be, passed out as kids are leaving.
Oh, I see. Okay. And it's just a lot of new things going on.
Oh.
All right.
Every day there's a new challenge, and every day we think of, how would that work?
Exactly. All right. So we're just under 10 minutes. There's a question I want to ask. What does first day of school look like for Carol Cavanaugh? Where do you go and what do you do? And what are you looking at?
Well, my very first stop on the bus will be to be outside on Hayden Rose Street to make sure the traffic is moving smoothly out there. I hope that it will be. I think, we've done a pretty good job in the past, and that's sort of how it will look. But in addition to that, I will go and visit with everybody at all of the different buildings. I like to get out there and see what it looks like when the kids are actually, in their seats and learning with their teachers, or out at recess, or, that's the excitement. And because it will be Wednesday, we'll have a meeting with the Commissioner of Education. So the afternoon will be filled with that kind of excitement. And then, there are meetings that are scattered throughout the day as they would normally be. But then once again, we'll just be looking at dismissal. So I think the big change is that kids will be here, and you try to get out there and make sure that arrival and dismissal go smoothly, and then just get into all the buildings to see what it looks like to hear kids' voices and see the excitement of kids, mostly meeting with friends again after a really, really long time. I'm sure that like math is going to be far less exciting to them than seeing other kids. Yeah, there was just that article. Ooh, I don't remember. Oh, it was in the Globe, I think. And the question to a bunch of little kids who are just down the road in Milford was, "How was your first day of school?" And one of the kids in the article said, "Well, I didn't ask anyone if they would be my friend, but I think I had some because I talked to kids." So like there's just that whole social piece that they're kind of navigating, and it's been a long time. So I'm eager to see that.
Yeah. Just a real quick aside. I've been doing HMS Today for a while, which is a little middle school news show that plays on Friday in every homeroom at the middle school. And I remember, 2 years ago now, I happened to be in the school when school started. And I was walking down the hall and I could hear from various classrooms, the theme music playing and the segments were playing. And then I could hear kids laughing. And I heard one voice say, "I know that kid." And it was just so awesome to hear, the students, hear their voices and hear them chattering and learn. It's just really, it's an exciting part of just being there while kids are growing and kids are learning.
Yeah, and I do think tomorrow is going to be, a whole lot more magical than maybe any other opening day, just because it's going to be so strange and it's been so long, and I don't know, I'm really excited for it. And
Yeah.
we get to have 2 opening days because we'll have a green opening day. And I used to work with someone who said all the time that if you taught the same course in different periods of the day, that the third time you delivered that information, you had to remember it was the first time those kids in front of you were hearing it. And I think that we have to remember that on Thursday, that the orange kids are coming for the first time. So we're going to have 2 exciting days in a row.
Right. Okay, well, another question came in. Let's jump to that.
Okay.
Marwa asked, high school remote students have yet to receive their schedules. Is the remote program and hybrid program has received the same amount of planning?
I talked to Mr. Bishop this morning, and I will share with everyone that was before 7 a.m. And I believe that, I hope I am correct, that by 2 o'clock this afternoon, kids, regardless of whether you are orange or green or hybrid or elected remote or coming every day, you should have a schedule. That was the major push today, was to get kids' schedules. We know that the elected remote families have been very nervous about where those schedules are. So I hope that they're going to find them by 2. Oh, it's 3 o'clock right now.
2:54 right now. So if you haven't received it in their email yet, if it's the high school, maybe they should just email ebishop@hopkinton.k12.ma.us.
That's a very good plan, yes, because we did talk about getting them underway today. Done today. So there may be 1 or 2 that have a hang up here and there, But I think for the most part, we anticipated they would be complete.
Okay. Now, this is what Raja just sent in a question I had been thinking about. I think I know the answer from your response there, but let's just get this out there so it's clear. Not sure if this was asked or answered already. What about an orange team student? What should they be doing tomorrow when the school year officially starts?
Yes, so my guess with the orange kids is that they'll get some kind of communication if they haven't already from their teachers. But it didn't feel quite right to say, here's your Orange Day assignment when students really haven't even had that in-person meeting yet with their teachers. So they can just sort of take tomorrow as a very light day. It may be so light, there's nothing really for you to do because really the Orange Day's first day is on Thursday.
Yes, that's what I had taken from the way you were talking about that a couple minutes ago. I think it's much better to think of Thursday as being your first day of school rather than thinking about Wednesday, my first day of school, as being at home. It's really not. I think your first day of school is the day that you first go to school.
Yes.
And then, I don't know. We'll have to see how it ends, whether it ends on orange or green, and see how that goes.
Well, the commissioner has said that there shouldn't be snow days because we all have this capacity to work sort of remotely now. And I think when we put that calendar together, I hope that I am correct about this, but I think we had it evenly distributed at 85 green and 85 orange.
Okay. I can't imagine a world without snow days. What are you going to do? What are you going to do, Carol, when you have to make the decision?
Well, really, there will be some kids who aren't coming in. I mean, assuming that we are all still coming back in green and orange, there will be some kids who don't come in, but there will be work for them at home. So.
Yes, yeah, it's really, it's one of those things that it's a new and different capability. Mm-hmm. Now, so the commissioner said there shouldn't be any snow days. Will there be no snow days? Because if school has to be called off, will just be a day working at home as if you were on your alternate day there?
Right. So if you are, say you're in the orange cohort and that was your day to come to school physically in person, mm-hmm. The idea would be you just have your work pushed out to you so that you could do it from home.
Wow. Well, that's a whole new world.
Yes. And the blizzard bag concept was one that had come about a very long time ago. We had talked about it again in the spring when we first went into the shutdown. And at that time, the commissioner had said, no, the only people who can do those blizzard bag days are the people who had been approved to pilot it several years ago. But I think that they have changed their mind on that now. So.
Okay. So we've got just about a minute left. And I'm wondering, I know that you are not you are not the director of technology, but if we have even for this school year, right? You must have made sure that all the students have all the access that they need.
I cannot imagine that anyone does not have the piece of technology that they need right now. If they do, it would be kind of a surprise to me. I do know that we have one Chromebook order that is held up right now, but I believe that everybody is all set for the start of school. And I know that Mr. Ghosh had also said very recently that he was thinking about, getting some more devices sort of on hand. So, I say it all the time on this show, but we are really a district that is blessed, and we are blessed in a lot of ways, but certainly in the way of technology. We have a lot of technology.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much. And I wish you a great opening day tomorrow. And we will see you back here next week, and we'll talk about how everything is going.
Are you in tomorrow?
I am in tomorrow. I teach second period, so I get to go in there tomorrow. I'm excited.
Right, well, I wish you a wonderful first day as well. Thank you, Jim, for everything.
Thank you. And thank you for watching this episode, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow on the Hangout Hour.